and welcome back to Bliss Week Day 4. We've got 5 more amazing calls today. Today we're talking with Lindsay Preston about breaking through barriers. And I met her online and through another collaborative program that she was doing. And when I saw what she was doing, I really thought it would be a really good bridge for us to get down to a few pragmatics with how to really break through when we get stuck. Yesterday, we talked a lot about fear and getting like just trapped in the fear. And Kenji kind of ended the day with, riding the wave, just keep doing it, keep making mistakes, keep falling, keep being washed, ashore, and then get back up on your surfboard and let's keep going. And I, as easy said that is, it's not that easy to do sometimes. So I want to bring Lindsay on so that we can just kind of cut through some other ways that we are hitting up against this resistance, hitting up against fear, not really going for it the way that we know that we need to go for it. As you come on, please just say hello. This is crafted and created to be interactive and engaged. Nothing here is recorded. So this is all for you guys live. So please come on, say hello, and just feel welcomed as an invitation. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring Lindsay up. And hopefully... I have this other little pop-up window that's trying to block you. There we go.
Yay!
So, oh my goodness, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I've been watching a little bit this week though, so I feel like I'm all up in it.
Oh, good. It's been quite the week for me. Yesterday,
yeah.
I was like wiped out. I've just brain a little bit, which is sometimes a really good thing. Lindsay, let's start with a little bit. Tell us about how, why did you choose this topic? I mean, you have quite the course that you've put together for the box. And I mean, man, I started to go through some of the videos and I was like, wow, she's really put it all out here. And I'm kind of curious if you'll start a little bit with your background as to, where did this begin for you, this journey and wanting to help people break through some of these barriers of resistance?
Yeah, so it started for me in my mid-20s. I was one of those people that was checking off all of life's boxes, going to college, then I was with my college sweetheart and we started building everything together. And I just felt inside still really unfulfilled in some ways of, life told me, hey, if I go and check these boxes off, everything's going to be great. And I found that I didn't feel that way. And so by the time I was in my late 20s, everything externally started to fall apart. So I found out my then partner was living a double life with another woman. And I had a 2-year-old on my hip at the time. And I had left my budding career in human resources to stay at home with her. So in essence, I found out this whole double life and I didn't have a job and I was broke and I had to go through this high conflict divorce and kind of figure it all out. And so before that, I had gone through counseling for a year because I had these thoughts and this intuition that he was cheating on me. And my therapist kept telling me, no, you're catastrophizing, you have anxiety, you have some depression. And what turned out was actually way worse than what my intuition was telling me. And so from that experience, I left that and said, you know what, I really need to start trusting myself and start going with my gut. And I was tired of kind of listening to everybody else of what was success. And I wanted to figure it out on my own terms. So someone had mentioned life coaching to me to try it out. And I thought it was so wacky and woo-woo and weird, Jeneth. I thought it was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm going to invest my last few $1,000s in coaching. But I did. And I'm so glad that I did, because just in a few weeks, I learned things like what were keeping me stuck and in these patterns I didn't even know were bad for me. And then 2, I started to learn who I was on a very deep level so I could move forward with confidence and ease into my next steps, which actually ended up being coaching. I always thought I'd be a therapist, but obviously with my past experience, coaching was more of a good fit. And I learned that obviously through coaching. And so from there, I just became very passionate about taking the tools that I had learned and became certified in and starting to help other women who felt stuck and were checking off life's boxes and wanted more. So now I am 5 years into my coaching business, and I've helped thousands of women around the world. And I have a podcast called Become an Unstoppable Woman. And it's just been so fun to live this life and to feel so fulfilled and to know that anytime when I get stuck, I have the tools to get through that and build that resilience. So no matter what life throws at me, I know how to get through that.
I love that you use the word resilience. What does that mean to you? How do you describe it in your world?
Yeah. So resilience to me is just being able to feel the feelings that you need to feel, not kind of distracting yourself, because it's a big thing I teach my clients is not to turn to food or to gossip or to shopping or all these other things. My thing back in the day used to be love and caretaking, and to have an ability to feel those feelings and then know how to process those feelings, because so many of us don't know how to do that, and release them and heal them and then move forward and feel like you're getting stronger every time. So, for example, in my life, I have an ex-husband, as I mentioned, and he actually married the woman who he was living a double life with. And it's hard to deal with that sometimes, but anytime something new comes up in that relationship, because obviously we have a daughter together, I know how to use those tools to continue to grow and thrive. And I look at them as some of my biggest spiritual teachers, in essence, every time they're triggering me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like, I think just I feel your energy in your heart. And it really seems that when people come to you, your heart's all there. Was that something that you had to work on, or is that something you've just always been?
Well, I think, obviously it's been there, but I think in society, I was kind of taught of, let's put that aside, especially in the business world. We got to do things the masculine way, and this is a certain way we do things, right? Even though I was in, but knowing too what my passions are and what my purpose here on life is and my strengths and my values and how that all comes together to be the coach that I am and to help the people that I get to help. I mean, I just wake up so and just passionate and full of energy and action because I get to do this kind of work. And that, again, went back to my own coaching of figuring all of that out and how that works together. So it's like, I can't not be that anymore. And that was that deep fulfillment I had been looking for.
Oh, I love it. It feels that you're fulfilled. And that's really exciting. Yeah. What I was going to ask. So do you find that there is a common trend they come to you for? And is there a common tool that you give them that is just profound that we can start the call off with today?
Yeah. So I realized recently a lot of clients come to me wanting confidence. So in essence, they're wanting to break barriers. That's what we're talking about here today is, again, I've checked off life's boxes, or I'm in this spot and I need the courage or confidence to shake things up a little bit, because it's really scary to ask for help, to go against the grain, especially the grain of, society or your family. And to be able to just step out in that way and do those things. So one of the biggest things we talk about, and I know we talked about, or you talked about yesterday a lot with your guests, was fear. And just knowing that that's there and being aware of it is so, so, so important. And again, tapping into those deeper levels of feeling, something I mention all the time is the inner mean girl voice. So that's really the voice of the ego. I just call it the inner mean girl because that's the voice that's keeping you stuck and holding you back in your head. And so many people come to me and they think they're crazy or they're weird or they're different. And they're not. It's just that they have that inner mean girl voice and they never knew it.
Yes. And so one of the things that, I feel like I've worked my whole life on having an inner mean girl voice, right? And one of the things that I've done, it's first the awareness of it. And then we go into like questioning and, clearing it. what kind of tools do you have that will help us like clear out that just the, you know, the negative, you know, entities, if you want to call it, the negative, you know, inherent collective that you want to call it, or what is there that you just call it the inner mean girl?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that I always teach my clients on how to first find that voice. So there are 6 different voices primarily. There's an inner doubter. So that's the voice that's obviously doubting you. And it typically lives in shame and guilt. So if you're feeling those feelings, that's that inner doubter. There's also an inner critic. So this one is obviously criticizing you, criticizing other people. They tend to gossip a lot. And that voice tends to have the feelings of resentment. So that low level anger where you're just constantly feeling like a little bit triggered. And then we have controller. And controller feels that high level anger. And those are the people that are coming out just like road raging or angry all the time kind of thing. And they're always trying to control other people and control situations. And then you have that inner mean girl voice of the pleaser. So a lot of women have this one. And this is the primary feeling here is fear. So if you're feeling a lot of fear, ask yourself, how am I trying to people please? And then we have the avoider. So the avoider is the one that's not wanting you to do the things that you want to do. Typically, a lot of times you're turning to other vices. So like food or Netflix even, or scrolling your phone. Sometimes it's extreme with drugs and alcohol. But that voice is typically living in sadness. So if you're feeling a lot of sadness, it's likely you're avoiding something. And then the 6th one, goodness, I'm missing one, but I can't figure out which one it is. I always forget one. It'll come to me. But all of those voices are in our body. So first, just being aware. Oh, perfectionist is the last one. So perfectionist is the one that is procrastinating a lot, focusing in on the details. And that is typically living in blame. So if you're blaming other people, that's perfectionist a lot. So anyways, we all have those voices. And so sometimes, you know, some are stronger than others. And so just knowing those voices are there and the primary feelings with them. So anytime I'm having a big feeling and I'm really triggered towards something, I'll ask myself, what am I feeling primarily? Right? So if I'm really blamey, it's like, oh my gosh, that's my inner perfectionist. Where am I trying to perfect things? Or if I'm really, really angry, what am I trying to control outside of myself? So again, just knowing that can be really helpful.
Yeah.
But that's just really like surface level.
About awareness.
Yeah. But that's just kind of like surface level stuff of knowing those voices are there, right?
Love
so
that.
Going deeper dive is we've got to figure out what your specific voice is like, because everybody's is unique and special based off their experiences. And typically their experiences starting from childhood, because our emotional brain is growing so rapidly as children, but our logical brain is not. So I see this with my own kids. I have a kid who is 17 months and the one who's almost 9. And so they're both in like very high emotional phases of life. One's going through puberty and one's becoming a toddler. And so I see sometimes when I do, especially my older daughter, not who's 9, she's like, oh my gosh, you have a call. Well, you don't love me. And it's like, no, baby, that's not true. I just have a call. And so she's building these really funky wires because of that, because she's so emotional. And we all do this. So I'll have clients come to me and say, oh my gosh, I just have this huge fear of public speaking, but I know I need to do it. And so we dig a little deeper of what are the memories from your past, because that inner mean girl has built a script around that and she's whispering it in your head. And so from there, it's like, well, you know, one time in the 3rd grade, I went and did the talent show and I went to go sing and I forgot my song and I ran off the stage. And so maybe the wires were built there of it's not safe to be seen. It's scary. People will laugh at me. And even though logically later we know like that stuff is silly, and we can kind of look at it in an adult way, there's still that inner child in there that say, process this for me to move forward. So I'm always trying to get my clients to look deeper, hear that inner mean girl voice, bring that subconscious or unconscious to the conscious level. And another way that I teach them to do this is by journaling. So taking a feelings chart, you can go Google one and just knowing what all those feelings are. So I feel sad because, and put it out on paper. And anytime you're emotionally charged, that's when it's really going to flow. And just seeing what's lying beneath the surface, because so many people are walking around just with a tornado in their heads. And if you just got it out on paper, you could problem solve and you would have a place for all of it to go. And that's where you start to just break barriers, because you're just not this kind of walking zombie anymore, in essence. Make sense, Jeneth?
Yeah, no, I like how you pieced it all apart. It's journaling has been a common theme that we've had. And
cool.
Yeah. And, but I like how, how many of you guys have all 6 of those going on all the time? That inner doubter, critic, controller, pleaser, avoider, and perfectionist. I know that I have, I'd say the one that I've been the best at getting rid of is the perfectionist.
That's great. Yeah.
And there's very few things I doubt anymore, just because that's been a huge area of focus, all of my life. Like there will be slowdown because I'm not, 100% sure that the results are going to pay off. But I don't really doubt it. I test it and I experiment now. But man, I've got controller big time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Pleasers going away. Although, I was just telling the last speaker yesterday, I felt like I could surrender because I was trying to please the audience all day.
Yeah. And it's interesting how in different areas of life, different ones will come out. So for me, in my personal life, it was critic and pleaser for a while. And then in my work life, it was perfectionist. So again, just knowing those primary feelings of each one and some of their habits. Like if I'm getting really detail oriented and waiting to the last minute, I'm like, whoa, inner perfectionist here. No way. We're not doing that. We're moving on. It does not need to be perfect. And I'll repeat some mantras to myself of, I'm good just the way I am. Everything, I do more than enough to, have the clients that I have and things of that sort that have really started to balance that. But those mantras can help kind of put a Band-Aid on things. But until we can go in and look at the past and kind of reprogram that and heal that, again, it's just kind of that Band-Aid. And that's where I tell my clients, let's find your bullet holes. Right. So in essence, like the things that have really hurt you that you probably have put Band-Aids on, let's just open that up, figure it out, and heal it. And I know so many people don't want to do that because they've had bad experiences like I did with therapy and I don't mean to diss on therapy, but it just wasn't an action-oriented process. So I pulled all those memories and then it was just like, oh, well, okay. And that was it. Versus pulling it, let's heal it, let's move on.
Right.
I
think that's huge. I was telling that yesterday. It's like you just share it and it's just out there again and you just relive the story all over again. You didn't actually go back and shift the energy around anything.
Yeah.
Do you talk about them really going back and making a choice, or do you change the narrative, or how do you go back to change that?
Yeah. So what they do, in essence, the process of my bigger coaching process is they pull their top 10 worst memories, which is never fun. And it's so interesting what comes up because they'll start with some goals that they're working on with me. And usually those memories are tied to whatever they're working on. So say if it's confidence, it's usually memories around that have hindered their confidence, right? And so we pull those memories, and what we do from that is pull what their thoughts were from those memories. So the example I always give is in my own life in 8th grade, I was on the bus one day and this boy said, "Lindsay, you're as flat as a board." And said it in front of all these kids. And I was not hitting puberty like the other kids were. And from that, I just felt this shame of there's something wrong with me. I'm weird. I'm different. Boys don't like me. I'm only pretty if I'm curvy. And as silly as that moment sounds, and looking back on it, even with adult eyes, it impacted me. And I could see that after I had pulled the memory and the thoughts. And so after that, then I had to go in and go down, of course, the coaching process. But yes, like rewrite emotions out from it, and then write how it should have been and how I should have been able to stand up for myself, or how I shouldn't have said that, and then forgive it. And so, yes, it does kind of reprogram the script that way. And it just allows the brain to kind of process what has been storming inside for so long in a more logical way. And so now I look back on that moment and I think totally 100% that was just a silly boy who was being silly that meant nothing about me. And from that, I was able to reprogram it with things like mantras. Make sense?
Yeah. 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 No, it's funny. I use this word. I'm unfuckable. Unfuckwittable. I'm like, what's the word?
I love it.
But yeah, when we're children, we're really able to be manipulated by anything.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of those like little girl mustaches like really early on, and one of the kids said something about that to me, and man, did it make me self-conscious. Constantly was like, nope, every little hair has to get off my face for the longest time, because I was, he was like, you're a boy, you have a mustache, or something really mean like that. I see it. My daughter is 13. I see it happening to her all the time, especially with girls. Girls are so mean to her. I think it's because she's, pretty and cute. And it's funny because she will probably never be fat. She's Chinese. And last night I heard her on the phone. She's like, did you just call me fat? I was like,
oh my gosh.
How is that possible? Like, yeah, she can eat like anything in the world. And I think that she does that just because other girls do that. They're really sensitive about their weight, and they say that. But I was just like, after she got off the phone, I addressed it. And I was like, was that real? Do you actually even like align and agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at yourself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, and that's a whole nother topic too, of just women going against women or girls against girls. I mean, that is a big reason of why I do what I do. We've got to stop that. It's not okay.
Don't you think that they do that though, to put someone else down, to kind of elevate themselves?
Oh, totally. It's their own inner critic of like beating themselves up, that sometimes it's like, let's just beat somebody else up. Right. And that's why I wish, more women would know these tools, and then they're impacting their daughters to kind of flip that. Like my daughter came home last year in 2nd grade and was like, oh, this person is so annoying, and this person this. I was like, we're not going there. We're going to flip that. This is just so-and-so with high competition strength, and that's just the way that he is, or this person's really funny and you're not seeing that. And because otherwise, a lot of times our own inner mean girls, come from our parents, those friends. And so it's just so important.
Yeah, how many? I'm going to do a little clearing, and then I'll let you, we'll go deeper in this. But how many of you guys have had a mean person or mean girl be mean to you, and you've agreed with it, and now that's become your inner mean girl? And would you let that go now? Right?
Yeah.
How many other people have judged us, and then we weren't really conscious or cognitively thinking, and it got stuck in there. Right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can think of so many moments in my own life. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to know who you are and know yourself at a deeper level, because otherwise you just accept other people's scripts, right? Like I know my ex-husband would say things like, you're not fun, and you're this, and you're that. And it wasn't until I started to know myself enough that I would come back and be like, actually, that's not true. Yeah, but otherwise I was just accepting it as is.
That was his story about you. It had nothing to do with you.
Exactly. And my daughter will try and throw it on me now too, of like, well, you don't love me if you're working. I'm like, no, baby, this is just what women do. They follow their passions and their mothers, and I'm a great mother. And I don't allow her to throw that on me. Yeah.
And sometimes I will make myself wrong in motherhood, and then I'll be like, well, wait, what would have been, a better way? And then all of a sudden I'll be like, just flip the script in my head and my daughter's. And that's the great thing about these tools, right?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Like every time you're flipping that, I call it shifting. I mean, you're leading yourself down a whole new path. Yeah. It's just these little bitty things you're doing every single day that make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, you've got kind of like this whole methodology around your work, and it's very, very interesting to hear you talk about it.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge some of the people on the board. Stella, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We've got a Delinda. She's been saying yes. She's got all of the the shebangs too. I think that inside we do, and they're all little shadows that come up, and those of us can shift them when we shift them.
Yeah.
Renee, you guys here. Gosh, Lindsay, I feel like I just drank from a water hose for a second there.
I know.
We're really going to look at those 6. I wrote a book about 7 dragons.
And you did? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they were very much like that. My dragons were, money wasn't one of the dragons, though. Specifically, a lacquer. Always focus on there's not enough, it's not good enough. So I think that was the 7 dragon, but they're very much in correlation with that worthiness, Wilma. Where you just don't feel good enough ever. That probably falls in there as like a critic. So it's almost correlated just beautifully. It's just really, really interesting to see. Although
Jeneth is like, we all do our own work and then it all comes together and it's so similar.
I know. Oh my gosh. And it's funny because you use different wording. Like you go, you call it emotions. I call it energy, because I try to, I've, worked with like clearing the plane beyond my aura kind of thing, right? Like what would it take to like clear the plane? One of the coaches that I facilitated with, he said, so what if when you clear it, you're also clearing like another 100,000 people, because then you're not in this reality choosing it. And when he told me that, I really, had a double take the first time. And I thought, wow, just by me choosing a different way of life, I can show other people in the world a different way of being in this world. And that's what gets me so excited about this work. And I love the way that this is just so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. I love what you said too, of it's I always say the connection piece of like, you're changing, someone else is changing, and it just keeps going. I mean, it changes the world.
Right.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah. On one of the earlier calls yesterday, we talked about like on a level of 1 to 10, how fulfilled are you in your life? Or I think we said it somewhere in the way of a choice and boundaries. And it made me journal last night about it. So can we play with the audience and take it? I have a controller in me. But I'll let you take it away.
So what do you want to do, Jeneth?
Oh, well, thanks for just satisfying the controller in me.
No,
so can we play with some of the audience and see? Jude said that she was bullied in grade school. But I think in some way all of us were, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Don't even remember what the mean girl said, right?
Yeah, and that's typical. Sometimes you don't remember the specifics, but you probably remember what you were walking away with from that. I typically have my clients, they don't go into the feelings per se. It's just, what were your takeaways from that experience?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be, I took away that I was weird, I was different, I wasn't enough, that I'm an outcast, whatever it was, because that is what has been programmed in your mind as what they, wanted to believe as true, right? And so you just got to go in and figure out what those takeaways were, Jude, and then figure out, okay, how can I kind of reprogram this in some way? So a really easy way, as I said, mantras before, of saying like, I'm not enough to I am enough, and constantly saying that. Because in essence, all you're doing is building a wire in your brain. We build so many emotions around these things because they were emotionally charged when that wire was built. But all we have to do is kind of go in and build new wires. It's really just a science thing at the end of the day. Just doing that. Back in the day, I was just like, what's wrong with me? Oh my gosh. It's just like, it's just science.
So everybody who is a seeker in general has an inherent wrongness. And I mean, and even the girls that were in the cliques that we thought fit in and were cool, they also have it too. I found that out. I mean, gosh, I've done this for 14 years now. And everybody that has this inherent worthiness or wrongness, like it's like literally we are born with it because of like all these trillion years of people having it. Yeah.
It is so eye-opening to see because I feel like I'm on the other side now. Like sometimes I look at myself and I think, gosh, I'm like the girl I used to hate. And you realize like we're all in this human experience together, doing this, experiencing the same things and doing the same things, and how interesting it is. Because I think as kids, we do look at, oh, well, they have that. Or even as adults, when we don't have it, they must have some like magic or special sauce, or, what is their keys to success? And really, they just have known how to understand their brain and how to program it to get what they want. Yeah.
But even though you make you feel fulfilled and worthy, though, like you can be a great manifester in this reality, but that doesn't mean that you are fulfilled.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think the bigger question is, what does it take to be the embodied, fulfilled person that we're asking to be?
Yeah. And to answer that question, I would say for me, and what I give my clients is knowing themselves. Like, who are you on a really deep level? Again, it goes back to like knowing your strengths and your values and your purpose and your passions. And I call it the puzzle of you. There's so many other pieces of that. But when you see all those pieces and how they come together, it kind of just slaps you in the face. Like for me, when I saw all that, it was, of course I'm going to be a coach. Like that is my calling. That's what I'm meant to do. And the more I started to tap into that.
That's what you're called.
Yeah. The more I tapped into that with, for things like meditating down the road and stuff, and you hear that, it's just like, of course I'm going to do that. Of course I'm going to follow that. And because of that, I'm so fulfilled because it's tapping into the deepest part of me. Yeah.
One time I was like, what do I want? And then I was like, well, wait, what if I would reframe that to what am I called to create?
Yeah.
And I tell you, that changed everything for me and how it showed up in my life, and started to, and it seems that you got there too. It's like, of course I choose this because this is what I love. And I love what happens when I've changed. And I love what happens when others are changed. I love that.
Yeah. But what's so tricky, Jeneth, I don't know if you see this a lot, but I have women that come to me and say, well, just tell me who I am. Like, I just want to feel deeper, more fulfilled, and like, give me all the good stuff. And I've done that before. I'll do an all about you call is what I call it. And I give them their strengths and their values and all of this stuff. But then I follow up with them and I say, how's it going? Are you applying the content? Are you putting it out there? No. And because they didn't go in and understand what their blocks are, because those are the things that are in the way from them shining. Even if I can tell them all day long what makes them unique and special, one of a kind, if they don't go in and figure out what those barriers are and those blocks, it's just like they just keep repeating the pattern. So it's really important both how to get through those blocks and barriers and how and who you are, and then
and it has to come within, and it has to be acknowledged within. That's why we do everything through question in my work, right? We don't tell anybody anything. Like, so I'm like highly intuitive and see it just like you do, but then I won't ever tell anybody anything. I get them there to see it for themselves and acknowledge it for themselves. I mean, it's really an art of facilitation.
Yeah.
And
that's the most powerful way to do it for sure, Jeneth. is in that way. For me in my practice, I have to give them some teaching in there of like, here's some of this, and does that feel right to you, and how we can go into that to kind of speed it up a little bit. I'm somebody who likes really fast results, and I think my clients.
No, I get that about you. Yeah. You're just like.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you in that it's so important. Everyone's tapping within themselves versus turning off all this kind of external noise. It's just tricky. And I don't know if you agree with this, but it's tricky for me sometimes to get people to that place where they really trust themselves again. And so it's like a gradual, like, let me teach you along the way. And then let you fly and trust yourself. Because otherwise it's just like, it's too much.
You have to get them to go into some sort of like fear, right? That's where the breakthrough happens. And I think that's probably why you named this, right? But the breakthrough, right? Because it's like, because you're facilitating them and nudging them, and you're kind of like, you have wings. I'm going to send you to the cliff. Let me just push you a little closer. But you know what? You have wings. Will you acknowledge that you have wings? Will you trust that you have wings? I tell you, you have wings. And then you just go, tip. Yeah. And then you force them to fly.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of coaching. And I think that's the brilliance of the way that you're coaching.
Yeah. Well, right back at you.
Well, it's taken me quite some years to get there. But yeah, I think that, because, they've got to, because I will fire clients so fast if they will not show me their wings, right?
Yeah. Or take that action, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
It's like, come on. Are you kidding me? Have you ever had the same coaching conversation like 3 times? And you are like, I'm going to strangle you. Just let my hands go through the phone.
Well, that's where it's like, if it's the same thing, they're not taking action. That to me is like, okay, you need some therapy. Come back to me when you're ready. And I've learned along the way too, Jeneth, of like, those years of doing this, of I test my clients before I work with them of different assessments, and we do like a one-on-one call together free beforehand to really make sure they're ready. And I'll ask them questions like, what is it about now? Why are you fired up for a change? Because I can't do the work for them. I can only meet them halfway, and then they've got to move.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's again why I love coaching, because it's like, let's learn, let's get the awareness, that fear, those emotions, right? And then let's fix it. Boom, fix. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you also work specifically with businesses that are, it seems that you have like a model that's really organized in a lot of the ways us internet marketers do our models.
I don't. My passion's always been with women.
Okay.
And so I've stuck there.
Yeah, no, I was just, I was just kind of curious because of how, you were the first person that, presented your package, and it was really like a package. And then I had to coach everyone else to make a package like yours.
Oh, how interesting.
Oh my gosh. Because, it was just really a refined program, and it was really nice to, it was just all put together. It was really beautiful. I'm still grabbing for things from others. I'm like, it's great. Thanks for the 4 MP3s. Can you explain what's in it? They're like, no.
Oh my goodness.
Some of that I think because they just kind of channel this information that helps clear stuff, and they don't actually know what's in it in a way. They just know it works.
Yeah. Isn't that so funny? I even struggle with that too, of like, I know how to teach and coach but I find that it's harder for me to explain what it is that I do. And so that's what I've really had to learn too, of like, okay, we're going to break through your barriers. We're going to, conquer your fears, become the woman you're meant to be, all that stuff. Yeah. It's so interesting that you see that.
And sometimes you say the words and it just seems kind of like, oh, everyone else is saying that. Right.
Yeah.
I've kind of struggled to go, no, but it's like when you're in it, I mean, your whole life can change.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, yeah, we come to these classes, we don't know what we're going to talk about. And then it's like, God just like sprouts a miracle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just the allowance of it happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So true.
Fabulous. Do you want to tell us about what's in the package? Or, so you guys, let me just tell you about the box, because somebody is like, I'm confused. Does everyone have a box and a bundle? And I was like, oh, did I not explain that? So basically what it is, so I know this is different for my industry. Other industries do this more. So what it is instead, I used to do all these interviews and each person would have a special offer and people would be like, I don't know which ones to choose. And so this time I decided, you know what, I'll just get a little bit smaller products and put them all in one container. And that's what I call by the box, right? So there is, every one of these speakers are offering a course. Sometimes they're $97 on their websites, right? They are highly valuable. The box is like 92% off if you were to have bought everything in the box. It's way over $2,500 or maybe $2,200 is what we figured out. And I think, Lindsay, your package alone is $47. And I got my hands in it because she was kind of new and I just had the vibe for her. I was like, I just kind of like her. She's like, kind of fearless and ready to, come and change the world in a really powerful way. And that's why I brought her on to the series. And so you get everything. And we've got, session people sharing their, you can talk to them right on the phone, like an actual one-on-one session within the box. We've got a couple people doing that. Lindsay's got like a whole video series and a booklet that goes with it, that goes through this entire way to break through these barriers in a very strong methodology, like what she's shown today. So here's the link for the box. It's bossbox.it/bliss/box. And all the products aren't written up as much as we would like. We're working on that. And more keeps being added. Even yesterday, we just had a new session being added. So next week, you'll really, really see what's in the box. But if you want it now, here is the link. And Lindsay, tell us what you've put in the box.
Yeah. So in the box, I have my Breaking Barriers 5-day challenge. And so in there, each day you're watching a video that's about 15, 20 minutes long. And I'm teaching you step by step, day by day, how to understand what's going on in your mind. So whether those barriers or blocks, and I use that word interchangeably, it's the same thing. Yeah. And then how to break through that. And on day 5, you're taking an action step towards something. And so it's backed by science to work for the brain on how to do this. And it just shows you a way that you can continuously use this process anytime you're feeling blocked by something, how to find it, how to overcome it, how to get into action from it. So like Jeneth said, there's 5 videos, there's a workbook, and there's also a meditation that's in there. And I also have a Facebook community for it. So as you're going through the challenge, either the first time or the 100th time, you can go on there, ask me questions, and I'll help you coach through it. And I actually do the course live. Cool. So when I did in the end of October. So anybody who wants that momentum of accountability of doing it live with a group, that's really fun to see all these women doing the same thing or similar things and breaking those barriers at the same time.
So what date is that? I missed it. That broke up on my part.
I don't know it offhand. It's somewhere. It's like in 2 or 3 weeks, Jeneth, that I'll run it live.
Oh, I want to play.
Yay! Come.
I'll go dig that out of the box so I can play with your group.
Yeah, and when I run it live too, I do prizes and we celebrate you, and it's so much fun because it is a little scary to kind of step out of your comfort zone. But when we celebrate it and we make it so easy and simple with this process, you'll realize it doesn't have to be that hard to go and get the life that you want. Yeah, no. And, it's so funny because you actually say it so
eloquently and simply too. You just rewire your brain. And I think
Yeah, that's
it. That's it. That's all.
That's all.
Yeah, just start with I am mantra. No. It's funny because it all works, right? I often have to do something. It doesn't always have to be the same thing, but I found that breath work and sound work, like actually drops my vigilant system to get me to be able to vulnerably look at something. So I usually have to go kind of in the depth of like, get me spaced out first, and then I'm rewirable.
Yeah. So you must be like somebody who thinks a lot, Jeneth, is what I hear.
Well, so not anymore.
Because you've like broken that by getting in your body.
We do it through body process and what we call bars and access consciousness. And I was sharing earlier in some of the calls. I mean, I used to be like really, really depressed, and I think that was because I just had that monkey mind, and a lot of the thoughts weren't mine. So I had to. So now, probably sort of, right? So now it's even more, I've got less thoughts, but I still have got to get way in my body for change to happen.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah.
That's sort of like I'm like, oh, I wonder what Jeneth's strengths are and why she needs this specific way and process. Cause I always like looking at someone's strengths. Well, sometimes they're in overdrive. Because usually like people with a lot of thinking strengths, we have to get them in their bodies more. Like I have a lot of thinking strengths, so I have to get my body too. But
I don't think of it as thinking anymore, but you're right. I've always had to go through the body or do like yoga classes that would sweat me down to nearly nothing, right? And then it'd be like, all right, I'm surrendered. Take me wherever you want me to go.
Yeah. Well, you're just a great example of taking like the neuroscience process of how to change things, but then individualizing it for different people. Like I would coach you differently than I would coach somebody else based off of that. Yeah.
I love that.
And so that's why I always give really my feedback or my support anytime I do a course, because it's so important to have that kind of twofold.
Yeah. So do you take them through like a Myers-Briggs kind of test, or do you have your own thing? Or
no, one of the biggest assessments that I love, and anyone on the call, it's called Clifton Strengths. It used to be called the Strengths Finder. And so this one I love it so much because in just 30 minutes and under $20, and I'm not an affiliate for them or anything, but you get what your top 5 strengths are in the world. And only 1 in 33 million people have the same strengths as you in the same order. And then if you combine that with your values and your passions and your background, and I mean, it just shows how unique and special you are. And so that kind of gives me the information to say, how does this person work? What's going on in their mind specifically? Because a lot of times our most natural strengths are in overdrive. So if somebody has a lot of thinking strengths, for example, they're up in their head. If somebody has a lot of executing strengths, maybe they don't have a lot of thinking strengths and they're just going and they're not really thinking. So we have to kind of cater it to that. But I do love the Myers-Briggs. That one's great. I just love Clifton Strengths because it's more individualized to that person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I've done some assessments like that in the past. One is called DOS or something, or Drive or something. Somebody told me once I was a high I. I was like,
I don't know that one.
I don't know either. In some way I'm like, don't tell me what I am, whatever I am, it's changeable. Right.
Yeah.
But I like, it's funny that you are like interesting, the way that you are. Because I guess I kind of am like, well, don't we all need to go through the body to surrender? And you're probably like, no.
Yeah. I mean, but that's where my strength comes out, because I have a strength of individualization of I'm always looking at people individual of who they are and thinking, oh, how can I customize this for them?
Yeah. See, and I just kind of meet them at their energy and just kind of go, what do I say next? Who shows up next? Kind of play that as an infinite being, I can meet and be anything at the moment. So that's kind of the play too.
Yeah. And I think that just goes back to we're all healers and helpers. We just do it in our own unique, special way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. But your process is very cool. So thanks for sharing it. I had never, in fact, it makes me want to go back to my 7 dragons and see how I can, pull them in more in my work to share them with people.
Yeah.
Because
I love that.
Awareness of that alone is just so, so beautiful.
It is so good.
Yeah. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Yeah. This has been fabulous. Okay, guys, we are going to meet back on top of the hour. Maybe I should ask anything else that you want to say to wrap up this call.
Oh, no, I am good. I see some people are joining the box, which is so exciting. I can't wait to work with y'all. And thanks for having me, Jeneth. This was so fun to come on and talk about this. And anyone who I get to work with is always a gift and a blessing. So thanks for tuning in.
Fabulous. Thank you, Lindsay. You have a great day.
You too.